How we doing, everybody? And welcome to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It's Wednesday. We are back. Rogan is gone. Austin's here, though. You know, it's like one guy leaves, the next guy comes back. We get this. It's like a revolving door. I never know who's going to be there, but I got Austin. Austin is with me today. It's Wednesday, a fantastic Wednesday in Wisconsin here. The weather yesterday, we got a little bit of snow. It didn't really stick, but there was a little bit of snow in the sky, so kind of surprising there. But Austin, how we doing Wednesday? How we doing on this Wednesday?
It's a good old hump day, Trage. A little nippy outside, like you were saying, but not too bad. Not anything that we were not used to. So overall, it was a pretty good day. I'm ready to get into this podcast here. Little bit of everything that we got to talk about. So pretty excited.
Yeah, we're gonna branch out. We're branching out today. We promised you guys, Austin and I were talking about, I believe last week, Wisconsin sports therapy. Wednesdays were going to be our sports therapy days. We're going to bring up something that just troubles us with Wisconsin sports, so we're going to talk about it. So that'll be today. We got a lot to talk about. Bucks, Brewers, Wisconsin sports therapy. We got questions to cover there. We got a lot to talk about. So let's just jump right into it here. So first off, I got the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks on Monday came off a big win against the Nuggets, 112-95. That was massive. I don't know if many people looked at it that way. 112-95. That's a Nuggets team that, if you look at the guys playing in that game for the Nuggets, majority of their starters played a majority of the game. I mean, besides Jamal Murray, he only got 18 minutes, but Jokic, 32 minutes. Michael Porter Jr. played 31, and Aaron Gordon played 28 minutes in that game. So it's not like the Nuggets sat all their starters in this one. They played a majority of this game. Bucks defense looked great. I mean, the Bucks defense looked great in this one. They held down this Nuggets team to 95 points and put up 112 themselves in this game. An impressive showing by the Bucks. Austin, what did we see out of the Bucks in this one that kind of stood out to us that led to this big victory they had over the Nuggets there on Monday?
Yeah, I wasn't able to watch a whole lot of the game, but I did see Thanasis was in there for a couple minutes, which means we played pretty good. I will say there was a couple highlights of him at the end of the game, kind of doing some crazy stuff. Typical Thanasis Antetokounmpo stuff there, but he played 5 minutes. But overall, I think just to point out, besides the stats, was Patrick Beverley the move here? And I think it turned out to be true. It seems like our team just overall has been doing much better. It's only 2 games, but you look at it, we played against this Denver Nuggets team, like you were saying, a pretty good team, solid overall. Murray only played 18 points and only scored 3 for them, but Jokic still played pretty much the whole game, scored 29 points, 12 rebounds. Aaron Gordon had 14 points to them, and then Porter Jr. had 11. Oh, besides that, they had mainly a lot of guys on the bench playing. Now, it's probably because we were up by quite a bit for most of the game, but guys like Christian Braun had 7 points and Reggie Jackson had 7 points. But besides that, not a whole lot going on with their team, mainly Jokic. When it comes to the Bucks, basically Giannis didn't carry, but he did do a lot of the work here. 36 points, 18 rebounds, which is crazy. Lillard also had 18 points there for them. Jay Crowder started, but only 2 points for him. Still kind of filling in for Chris Middleton, so hopefully we're able to get him back at some point, because that will definitely add another scoring threat for us. Beasley had added 9, and even though we had only 9, we've seen what he's been able to do sometimes. So I'm not even really concerned about Beasley at this point, as I was some other. I've come to realization, Trage, that Beasley's a heck of a three-point shooter. So all of his points came off with three-pointers here. He went 3 for 6 from the three-point line. Brook Lopez, same with him, 3 for 7 from the three-point line, and made 9. Or had 9 points. So all of them came there. Bobby Portis, good night off the bench there, 13 points. And Pat Bev, 20 minutes, 5 points. Pat Heinzen had 5 points also, and then AJ Green. AJ Green's kind of a silent killer off the bench, kind of getting a little bit more minutes now that Chris Middleton is out. It seems like he's been playing a little bit more. He had 15 minutes, but 9 points from him, so that's pretty solid. Good to see off the bench there. Overall, pretty good game out of the Bucks here, and we just shot the ball better, I'd say. We shot less field goals there, but we also made more field goals. So definitely a way better percentage. We shot 50% from the field, 47% from three pointers. So definitely really good overall shooting from the Bucks, but also really good defense. Holding this team. I saw something. This is the first time. I can't remember the year, but it was the first time in a few years that we've held a team held back-to-back teams to under 100 points. So definitely very impressed from our defense now with the addition of Patrick Beverly, which I think we got to give a little credit to now. It seems like he's been really coaching them guys up, just his experience. And I thought that was a great move that they made, and I think it's showing to be true now.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think he's that spark that the Bucks needed, especially on the defensive end of the court. He's getting underneath of a lot of guys' skin, and I think that's what the Bucks needed. They needed a true leader on the defensive end, and it's great to see. The thing that troubles me is when I look at Brook Lopez and I see 3 for 7 from downtown, and that's all. That's all the points he had. That's all the shots he made. Nothing in the paint. You know, you think of your center. That's not my center. That's a guy who's my shooting guard or my forward, not a center, a guy listed as a center. I mean, yeah, it's awesome he can step out and hit it, but at the same time, I need a guy who can bang it around in the paint too. And it's not his game right now. That's the big thing that I'm seeing with Brooks. So definitely interesting there. I did see Jamal Murray. They listed him. He left that game against the Bucks there in this. He missed the whole second half and actually only played 18 minutes in that first half. He has it's listed him as tibius is what it's listed as on ESPN. And I was like, what is tibius? I've never heard of that. So it's the tibia bone. It has to do with his tibia bone. And it's a bilateral tibia inflammation is what he has. I really had to dig deep for this one because when they just said tibia is, or they put an S on the end of tibia, I was like, what is that even like? Is that
I call that lingo? Science, Tridge, right there.
I think so. I was like, is that lingo for something? So I had to look it up. I had to figure it out. So yeah, bilateral tibia inflammation for Jamal Murray. That's why he had to lead that game. Definitely helped out the Bucks in that aspect, but I don't take anything from that Bucks win. They still held down a very good Denver Nuggets team to limited scoring there. So definitely impressive in that, right? So Bucks got the win there against the Nuggets. Great to see, and I mean, you covered it all there, basically, what I was going to say next. That move that the Bucks made for Pat Bev, that could be one of the biggest moves they've made in a very long time. It's comparable to the move for P.J. Tucker. End of the day, it is comparable to that simply because P.J. Tucker brought that to the Bucks, that intensity, the defensive-minded guy. That's what Pat Bev brings right now. He's not going to be big on the scorebooks, but man, is he going to show up on the defensive side and leadership-wise. He's going to coach up everybody. He doesn't care who you are. He'll tell Giannis. If Giannis gives him trouble, he'll tell Giannis what it is. He'll tell Brook Lopez what it is. He'll tell Damian Lillard what it is. He does not care. And that's what I think the Bucks needed as a guy who didn't care about stepping on toes and hurting feelings. That was what I was really thinking the Bucks were missing, and that's what they got there in Pat Bev.
And the first night that Pat Bev was there, he was you guys might have talked about this. I'm not entirely sure. I think I mentioned this. But he was trying to coach Brook Lopez there, and it seemed like Brook Lopez was like a little bit annoyed or something. Like he didn't want to listen to Pat Bev. He did nod his head and whatever, and he could have just been frustrated. But if Brook Lopez isn't listening to Pat Bev, maybe he should, because obviously our defense was not doing something right when Pat Bev wasn't there, and now look at our defense now that he is there. And it could just be coincidence that our defense is just magic or just somehow playing better, but I don't think so. And honestly, Pat Bev or this team could prove me wrong, like they have many times. But it just seems like it's just fitting, like you were saying, when we got PJ Tucker, a defensive-minded player, all of a sudden our offense was able to take our team overall was able to just do much better. And now the same thing's kind of happening here. But if you're what's his name, Brook Lopez, and you're not taking not taking that coaching from a defensive-minded veteran player, maybe you should change your attitude a little bit, because right now you're not – like usually Brook Lopez is pretty good. He had 3 blocks against the Denver Nuggets, which is pretty good. But overall the defense was not, and that's a guy to listen to right there, because like I've said on this podcast before, other players around the league talk about how Pat Bev gets ready for games and studies other players, so he knows what he's talking about. So I would definitely listen to the man if he's trying to talk to me about something, because he probably knows something that these other players don't.
Yeah, 100%. And I got to say, off the bench, I got to see less of Pat Connaughton. I got to see more of A.J. Green and Andre Jackson Jr. That's for darn sure for me. Pat Connaughton in this game, 2 for 2 from the floor. He hit his only 3 that he put up there, but I'm just not seeing it with Pat Connaughton right now. He's supposed to be my shooter. He's far from it. Green stepping in. He had 3 for 5 night there against the Nuggets. I like what I'm seeing out of Green, and I like defensively what Andre Jackson Jr. gives me on the defensive end. So I'm looking for those 2 guys to be factors here. And if Pat Connaughton gets less playing time, I'll be just A-okay. So Bucks got the win over the Nuggets. Big win for the Bucks there. Hopefully see some good things moving forward there in Milwaukee. And other news in Milwaukee, I asked a question today, getting closer and closer to spring training here coming up at the end of the month here for the Brewers. And I asked everybody out there, I said, we're getting closer to the start of spring training. I said, do you think the Brewers are done adding pieces? Who are you most excited to see what they can do coming out of camp? Do you think any rookies will break camp with the team? And also give me your prediction. So I asked out there, and I had a lot of people answer in here. One guy said 82-80. No playoffs for the Brewers unless pitching is unbelievably good, and a couple of guys hit 300. I had a guy tell me that he loves Pat Murphy as a manager, and the Brewers can start 4 lefties in Miley, Gasser, DL Hall, and Ashby. Also said 90-72 on the season there. A couple other ones. A guy came out and said 84-78. He's high on minor league prospects, Churro, Gasser, Cuero, Black, also hoping last year's rookies take the next step. Another guy answered no, yes, Jackson Churro, and 92-70. So no to the Brewers adding pieces. Yes, he's excited to see what they do coming out of camp. I got Jackson Churro out of there and 92-70. I hate when people answer questions like that. I mean, I get it, but I got to read back then. And another guy just said, go Brewers. So that's about all I'm going to answer. There's a lot. There's a couple more comments there, but I wanted to get what we thought. So let's go through it piece by piece here. So do you think the Brewers are done adding pieces? I'm going to say...
I was going to say, unless they're able to somehow get Trevor Bauer. I'm pretty sure Rogan mentioned this, that Trevor Bauer put out on Twitter that he's willing to play for league veteran minimum, which is not a whole lot, especially for this guy. He was a Cy Young Award winner when he, the year after or the year before he got basically kicked out of the league. Not actually kicked out, but basically. And then he's been a really good player over in Japan, I believe. So I think, if anything, that's one guy I would still kind of target, because right now he's looking for an opportunity. I think the Brewers could give him an opportunity, especially with how lackluster, I guess you could call, our starting rotation is right now. With now we don't have Corbin Burns, and Brandon Woodruff is going to be hurt now. All we have is pretty much Freddie Peralta is basically our number one, I'd have to guess. So I'm kind of looking at that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like the Trevor Bauer. I was going to mention him too. I saw a couple videos of him. He's still pitching. He's still working on his mechanics and everything. He's still got his stuff. I mean, the stuff is still there. So I would not be opposed to giving something to Trevor Bauer. Just give him a stepping stone. If it's a 1-2 year contract, if it's a 1-year contract or the player option after year 2 or whatever it is. I mean, I would take any kind of deal with him right now to help out that starting rotation. Do you go as far as a guy like Blake Snell? He's going to cost you a pretty penny, but you could get him for a little bit more than what you were going to pay Burns per year to stay in Milwaukee. And, I mean, Blake Snell could be the top of your rotation kind of guy. He's had some injury as of late. He's had some problems as of late, but he's still a dominant pitcher. So I would not be opposed to a guy like Blake Snell. Jordan Montgomery is still out there in free agency for pitching-wise, so I would not be opposed to a guy like Jordan Montgomery coming to the Brewers here. So definitely pieces they can add. I don't think they have to add any pieces in the bullpen. I mean, pitching's always a premium. You can add guys. I won't say no, they can't. I don't think that's as big of a problem. Looking at position-wise, I would say they're relatively A-okay in the field right now, outfield especially. And then looking at the infield, the only question mark will be third base. I don't know if Tyler Black is going to break camp as a third baseman. You have Owen Miller in the room yet. You have a guy like Andrew Monasterio who could potentially still play third base for you. And Joey Ortiz. You just got him in that Corbin Burns trade. Maybe you got a guy like Joey Ortiz step in there at third base. You have Willie Adames at short and Bryce Durang as of right now at second base. So you definitely have your options already in the field. I think that starting rotation is my only question mark for the Brewers heading into this season. I really do. I mean, you look at, like you said, Freddie Peralta is your number one. I'm not saying Freddie can't be a number one. He's had moments where he's been brilliant. He's had moments of brilliant pitching, and then he's also had moments where he's been a downfall. So I'm not opposed to him being the number one guy, but I think you need a guy to back that up. You had a guy in Woodruff, but now Woodruff's gone. You had Burns to lead up to Peralta. Now Burns is gone. Wade Miley, I just don't see him as a fine number two. I really don't. I mean, yes, he's had some moments of greatness over the last couple of years. He's been pitching fine for the Brewers, but he's getting old. I don't know how much longer Wade Miley, like I've said before, can evade Father Time and pitch like he has been. Who knows what you're going to get out of him in this next season. So I don't know how I trust that one. He's also been a little bit injury prone as of late, so that could be another problem. So, I mean, and then rookies. I like Gasser. How much are you going to trust your rookies to be able to give you big innings this next season? You're going to have Gasser. DL Hall coming in. Yes, he was a starter at one point, but the Orioles shifted him to the bullpen. So how well does he transition back? I wonder that same question there. Jacob Mizorowski, flamethrower, good stuff. I don't know how many innings he can give you. In the minors, he was averaging about 4 innings and outings, so then your bullpen's going to get extended. So how do you balance that thing out there? And then you have a guy like Colin Ray at the back end there, and Aaron Ashby coming off of a season-ending injury. What tells you what Ashby's going to give this next season until we see it in front of our eyes? There's too many question marks in the Brewers rotation. I mean, you look over the years for the Brewers, 2018, 2019, you've had guys like Burns, Woodruff, Peralta. You've had years of consistency where you never had that question mark. We always had the question mark in the batting order. Who's going to hit? Who's going to hit for this Brewers team? We never had the question with the pitching staff, and now we're questioning the pitching staff, not as much the lineup. That's where I think the Brewers have to address now, because I think this team has the ability to hit. I just don't know if they have the ability to put up zeros there in this pitching staff.
Do you think there's a possibility that we see someone kind of like a Brent Suter that was he went from starting to the bullpen, like they kind of moved him back and forth, kind of like wherever we really needed him? Do you kind of see maybe the Brewers kind of possibly doing that, maybe with DL Hall or someone else?
Yeah, I mean, I could see a guy like DL Hall being that transition guy, giving you about 4 innings in his starts and then transitioning to the bullpen in other days. I could definitely see that. I thought Adrian Hauser would be that guy. You know, the Brewers coming into this season here, Hauser was kind of going to be the odd man out there with rookies coming up and everything like that. But I never hated Hauser. Yes, he had years of a 3 ERA, but he was a number 5 in your rotation kind of guy. He was never supposed to be that dominant guy who was going to give you no hitters and shutouts. He wasn't that guy, but he was a solid back end of the rotation guy. Now he's gone, and you got to find that gap. You're going to need it. I really do think you're going to need that guy, like you were saying there, who can bounce between the two while also being able to extend out games for you, because, you know, Wade Miley, he's getting older. I don't know what his stamina is going to be. Can Wade Miley give me 6 innings, or is he going to always be in that 4 to 5 range where I got to find a guy to come in and fill this 2-inning, 3-inning gap every time Wade Miley's out there? There's so many question marks you're going to have. Yeah, like you just said, who's going to be the long relief guy for the Brewers there, and a fill-in guy? You know, the Brewers have loved over the years to be the 6-man rotation team. They've always had a guy to fill in there. This pitching staff's kind of getting thin. Where's that guy for you now? I would rather have a guy like Jacob Mizorowski be able to be the bounce-around guy like you're talking about, where he can be in the bullpen while also getting a 6th. Every 6th day, he's got to start there every once in a while when they're in a long stretch. Or a guy like DL Hall. You don't want to throw them guys right into the meat of the fire right away and expect them to give you 7 innings, especially a guy like Jacob Mizorowski, who is averaging about 4 innings in the minors. Now you're going to, if he breaks camp, that's if he breaks camp with this team. Is he going to be able to give you that 6 innings for you? That's a big question mark for me. You used to have the solid guys in that rotation that could do it. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it now.
Yeah, my concern, kind of like, not exactly what you're talking about, but a little bit as in we don't have a guy that can go the long way. Kind of like we had Corbin Burns that was at least able to pitch. It seemed like 7 innings at least for most of the games. We had Woody, who pitched a full game one time. I'm pretty sure he pitched 9 innings in one game there, and he could at least make it to 7. Freddie could at least make it to 7. now we only basically have Freddie, and like you were saying, Wade Miley, kind of old. Is he going to be able to make it to at least 6 innings? Seems like we might be in the place where we're going to be piecing pitchers together, trying to fill in a full 9 innings, which is not really the thing you want to happen, especially in baseball. Because baseball, you're always playing every single it's nice. It's nice when you get good like big leads on teams, and you won't have to pitch Williams a whole lot either. It seemed like a couple of times in the past few years where Hader barely had to pitch in a week because we just kind of blew out some teams, or we had a big enough lead where he wouldn't get the save. So there's not really a point in putting him out there, and we could just pitch some random other guy. But now it seems like we're concerned about our rotation for pitching, our rotation or our batting order even. And I don't know how good they're going to hit. It seemed like they hit decent last year, but still some tight games. I don't really know. And like you were saying, we don't really have that setup guy for Devin Williams. So that's going to be interesting to see how we're able to play with that too. But like I was talking about before, are we going to, like, besides Freddie Peralta, um, is there even a chance that some of these guys are going to be able to pitch longer than 6, 7 innings for our team in our starting rotation?
Yeah, 100%. And I forgot about a guy. They did bring in Jacob Junis, starting pitcher there. Last season, I believe he was with the Giants, had a 3.87 ERA there in 40 games, but he only started 4 games. He was a starter with Kansas City back in 2018-19, but I mean, 4 ERA in 2018. In 2019, he had a 5.24 ERA in 31 starts. So he's been roughed up as of late and has been predominantly moved to a bullpen role. So, yeah, I mean, who's that guy? Who's going to be that guy to step up in this rotation and be able to extend games out? Because, like you said, you're going to have constant moving pieces in this major league level because you're going to have to move pieces up and down from major to minor league levels just trying to balance out your bullpen because you're going to have guys pitching day in and day out. So it's definitely going to be a struggle for the Brewers unless they start adding pieces there. A little bit high leverage starting pitching. Right now, we don't have high leverage starting pitching. We have the number 4, number 5 guy in your rotation kind of guys, not the guys who can take you 7, like you said. Freddie Peralta can, but I mean, I don't have the stats up in front of me, but last year, I can't remember many starts where Freddie took us the distance, where he got us straight to that setup, man. He was more predominantly in that 5 to 6 inning role, which was fine for Freddie. I'm not saying that was anything against Freddie Peralta. He pitched fine in those games, just high pitch counts is what got him there. And Wade Miley, I can't tell you a time he pitched over 5, 6 innings. That's where he sat. So now you look at that and you add these guys in, and I don't know. That's my question mark for the Brewers is a starting rotation.
I think some of the younger guys are going to have to prove themselves in spring training here. And who knows, maybe we'll see DL Hall start for the Brewers. Not like in the first 2 spots, but maybe that third pitcher in the rotation on opening day or opening week there, maybe he'll be able to prove himself that he's able to be a starting pitcher. If not, Junis that you said, he's probably going to have to be able to be a starting pitcher for our rotation just because we don't really have anyone as of now because, like, Brandon Woodruff's hurt and obviously Corbin Burns got traded away, which is still going to be one of the biggest questions until we hit the opening day there, how that's going to affect us.
Yep.
But it will be interesting to see how the Brewers are able to see what they got during spring training. This is probably one of the biggest spring trainings that the Brewers have in a while. I feel like the Brewers always knew that they had good talent in the outfield with, they call the freshmen that they had with who they have out there with Sam Frelick and all them guys. But those guys have been starting now. So they're not really rookies or freshmen. And so now it's who's going to be next up. I mean, we know we got Jackson Churro, and is he going to make the 40-day roster right away? Probably not. But it's going to be interesting to see out of spring training what we can do.
Yeah, 100%. And, like I said, first time in a long time, we have questioned the Brewers starting rotation. heading into a season. So definitely different kind of waters we're treading in these days. So that's it for the Brewers there. Hopefully we're going to get more into the Brewers here. Spring training is right around the corner, and we can't wait to get back to some Brewer baseball there. Can't wait to hear Bob Uecker again on the mic. So with that, I want to get to our sponsors here. Your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy Sue or Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell, find them on Facebook at your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield. Also Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville. And right now, it is Valentine's Day today. So right now they are selling roses and any kind of bouquets you could need for your special lady, man, whatever it is that you got, and you need to get him flowers or anything yet. Maybe it's Milwaukee Tools. You want to get him Milwaukee Tools for Valentine's Day. Stop in
Get
there
the
at
wife some
Pittsville
Milwaukee
Farm and Home,
Tools,
and they will. Exactly. They will get you out the door with that present that'll put a smile on their face. That's all you need right there. We're going to get into something that may put a smile on our faces now. We needed to talk about it. Wisconsin Sports Therapy. Now, we talked about it last week. We decided to do a segment on it because, with Wisconsin sports, you need somebody to talk to. You need to be able to express your feelings about something. So, Austin, what do you got for me for today? What do you want to talk about? What has been troubling you with Wisconsin sports?
There's not a whole lot troubling me. Just some aggression on the Badgers basketball team. And I feel like you and Rogan talked about it after their loss against Rutgers there. And I think it's actually starting to hit me that there's a chance the Badgers don't make the tournament, Trage. And you and Rogan, we talked about this yesterday, but I don't think we really looked at their schedule. I don't have it pulled up here, but I'm going to pull it up real quick. And they are pretty much a few games out. If they lose a couple more of these, they actually might not make the tournament again. And which is crazy because we were just ranked the 16th in the nation. And this is probably one of the quickest turnarounds that a team might have. We have lost 4 straight, and Iowa's not going to be a gimme. Maryland's definitely I feel like Maryland at Maryland. Oh no, that one's a home game, so that one might be not as bad. But Maryland's always been a tough game. Indiana just beat Ohio State, so you don't know what you're going to get from them playing at Indiana. Illinois kicked the crap out of Michigan, so that's the team that is threatening us too. Rutgers again and Purdue. This is the time where the Badgers need to grow a pair of balls because if they want to make the tournament, they're going to have to prove it here because they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more games left. Right now they're 16-8. They lose a couple more. You're not going to – I can't remember the last time a team has made the tournament when they've had a double-digit or at least – double-digit losses, unless you've had some amazing teams that you've beat. And right now, it seems like the only thing that's really holding the Bucks or the Badgers up right now is that Marquette win when they were ranked number 3. Right now, that win is looking a little bit better for them because Marquette is somehow ranked number 4. So I guess you could say it's a little bit better now than when Marquette was ranked 12. But Virginia, pretty sure Virginia is not even ranked anymore. So even though at the time they were ranked 24th, is that really an impressive win? Not really. I mean, it is an ACC quad 1 win, I'd say. I think they are a quad 1 win there. But you lose a lot. You lose some of these games, you're going to be losing more quad 1s than you've won. And right now, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. I usually like to be the glass half full type of guy, but it's a question that's it's a therapy type of thing, Trage, that's setting in. And I don't want it to happen because we were having such a good year. This is what happens when you don't take losses. I'm not saying they didn't take losses seriously, but sometimes you get a little too much of a natural high when you're on that winning streak and everything. Once you hit a loss, sometimes it just kind of tumbles on you. And I don't know if this is happening with the Badgers now, but they need something to turn it around quick because things could start going downhill. And like I think you were saying yesterday, they might not even get a first round. They might not, they might be playing on day one in the Big Ten tournament, and they were probably going to get at least a first round bye, being one of the top 4 teams in the Big Ten. And we'll talk about that later. But yeah, Trage, I just had to get all that out there because it is troublesome. It is troublesome.
Tell me now, how do you feel about Greg Gard? Tell me, how do you feel about the main man in charge there in Madison?
I don't know. I don't know if I said this offline yesterday or if it was during the podcast, but I said I'm at the bus. I'm at the bus stop I'm on the bus. I'm at the bus stop waiting to hop on the fired Greg Gard bus. I'm at the bus stop, Trage. Bus hasn't came yet, but it's on the way. It could be on the way. I could leave the bus stop, but right now I'm at the bus stop. Depends on how the end of this year, how the rest of this year ends. And yeah, Trage, I texted you during the, or I think it was after the Rutgers game there when they lost by 22. I texted and I'm like, I might be on the fire Greg Gard train because that's embarrassing, Trage. It's embarrassing losing to two.
Yeah.
I mean, Rutgers has always been a pretty good team, and especially playing at Rutgers, but losing to 22, that's just salt in the wound right there. Especially after losing to not only Nebraska, then Purdue, then Michigan, but now a 22-point loss to a subpar Rutgers team. And, Trades, we always talk crap about FAU and their close wins. Now I feel like I can't even talk crap about FAU because we're losing. We're not losing to as bad of teams, but, I mean, we're losing to pretty bad teams here. At least FAU is, I mean, they're winning in double overtime, but they're winning, Trades. At least they're winning. Right now we're losing today. So I feel like I can't talk bad about FAU anymore when we talk about the rankings. But as a Greg Gard, I'm at the bus stop, Trage. And I thought you were crazy. I'm not going to lie. You said some crazy things. You said some crazy things about Jordan Love. You said some crazy things about other things. And I thought you were crazy about the Greg Gard thing. But, Trage, you might have changed my mind. I might be a changed man because it might be coming to fruition, Trage.
2 weeks ago, you guys all sat here and said how I was just crazy and that there's no way that Greg Gard could be out the door. Look at his record from the past. He's done this. He's done
How
that.
will we expect the Badgers to lose to a Michigan and a Rutgers 22-point loss? Okay, we were talking about this when none of that was in the face of the screen. Now it's there, Trage. So now you sound smart, but before you sounded dumb. I'm not going to lie. But now you're sounding smart. You got lucky.
You got to look at it year by year. Everybody talks about February and March as Greg Gard's downfall years. Remember last season? This Badger team was doing great. Everything was rolling along just fine. We were, I think we beat Marquette last year. This Badger team was like 12-4. They were up in the rankings. And then all of a sudden, the bus wheels fell off. Everything went downhill. And we saw it then. I don't believe, and this is a thing that a lot of people have to come to the realization of, Greg Gard can coach a team when they're high. When they're high and mighty, when they're winning games and shots are falling, Greg Gard's the guy. He can draw up the X's and O's. He knows the game of basketball. I don't believe he doesn't know the game of basketball. I don't believe he can draw up a play. I don't believe he can motivate a team. And I don't believe he can fix it. That's the thing, is I don't believe he can fix it. And I've seen a lot of people who have said this Badger team isn't as they were better than what they were supposed to be this year, and now they're coming back down to earth. That's recruiting, then. That's player development. That is this Badger team slowly coming together, and this is what we expected. This isn't good. This is a Badger team that historically, yes, they aren't a basketball school. They're more predominantly a football school, but this is a Badger team who's been good. I mean, they've been to the Final Four. They went to the national championship. Different teams, I agree, but this team has played well over the past 20-some years. They have been a basketball school in the rankings. Bo Ryan had this team fantastically put together. And all of a sudden, everything changed now. There never in the career of Bo Ryan was there a time when anybody would say, let's fire Bo. Let's fire Bo. It was never a question. Now you have people saying, let's fire Greg Gard. People that can
Bo,
sit out there and say,
I was going to say, Bo Ryan was able to retire on his own happily.
yeah, yeah,
So I get exactly what you're saying with that.
yeah. I mean, it might have been different because it was old style basketball, the way Bo taught it, but Bo Ryan's teams outperformed what they were supposed to. That's the thing. You look at their recruiting and you say Frank Kaminsky was a 3-star athlete coming into Madison. He was not supposed to be the player of the year in college basketball. He wasn't supposed to get the nickname Frank the Tank. He wasn't supposed to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated and lead the Badgers to the Final Four. That's player development right there. Frank Kaminsky developed in Madison, thankfully, a lot to what the coaching staff did with Frank. And now Greg Gard was a part of that. I'm not saying Greg Gard wouldn't be a fine assistant coach. I don't think he has what it takes to be a head coach. So that, I mean, it is therapy here because it's good to get everything off the chest here with this Badger team. And, if Greg Gard leads the Badgers over the hump, fine and dandy, but you can't go through consistent years of this. You can't. You can't have, like I've said before, I was fine with losing to Nebraska. I was fine with losing to Purdue. It's like you said, when you lose to a team like Michigan and then you lose by 22 to a team like Rutgers, that's where you draw a line. Good teams are going to lose games. I agree with everybody who has ever said that. Good teams will lose games. That Badger team from 2014, 2015, they lost to Duke. They lost to a Rutgers team. They lost to some Duke wasn't bad, but Duke went to the national championship that next year or whatever it was. But they played some good teams. They lost, but they played some bad teams and lost. I'm not saying that good teams won't lose, but it's how you bounce back after that. After that 18-point deficit that Nebraska came back on Wisconsin, this Wisconsin team has looked defeated every time they walk on a basketball court. It didn't matter if it was against Purdue. It didn't matter if it was against Michigan or Rutgers. They looked beat before the game even started. That has to do with coaching. That has to do with getting your guys ready to rock and roll. Like I said the other day, they don't have a leader on this team. That's a big problem, too. You have to have a leader. It starts with Greg Gard. It starts with him getting his guys motivated and then somebody else in that room stepping up. That's where it comes down to, and I don't believe he can do that for this Badger team. Now, I can't say the Badgers fire Greg Gard and they find the next, let's just say, Coach K. I can't promise that. I can't say that they're going to bring in the next Bo Ryan who's going to lead the Badgers to success for 20-some years. I can't say that. But end of the day, I don't believe that bringing in a different head coach would be the worst idea for the Badgers, and I know money talks. I did not think, like I said the other day, Luke Fickell would come to Madison to coach a football team. Never saw that happening. He took a big paycheck, came to Madison. I believe money talks, and I believe you could get a head coach into Madison there to coach his basketball team because as much as people want to say basketball isn't as big as football in Madison, I think basketball is pretty big in Madison because I look at the amount of people that get ticked off after a Badger game, and you could go through comment section after comment section. There's thousands of people who watch the Badgers. There's thousands of people who go to the Kohl Center and watch the Badgers play. So definitely a big sport, and I just hate to see, if this was a good team, I hate to see a head coach squander what is a good team. That's what sucks to see the most, is when you have a good team and it falters off so easily just simply because they don't have the right guy in the room to coach them. So that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, you have experience there at the college level with the head coach. If you knew that your team had the talent to be able, like you guys were conference champions this last year, you went pretty far there in the playoffs. I mean, not D1. I'm not going to say it's completely comparable, football, basketball, whatever you want to say, but it's the same style. I mean, it's a sport. And end of the day, I mean, I want to hear your opinion. If you didn't believe your head coach could get you over the hump, what would you do? I mean, you're going to look defeated before you walk on a court. You're not going to be motivated. You're going to say, why the heck am I even here? That's what I'm seeing out of this team right now. So, I mean, I just kind of want to hear your opinion on that and what you're seeing, because that's what I see right now with the Badgers.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for me at least, we have a really good coach, and not just a coach, but a coaching staff that gets us pretty motivated, and they come into every week prepared. So I'm lucky to have that for sure. And we never really had, a lot of our games were close, but we were able to just find a way to win. That's kind of what our motto is find a way to win. no matter because no matter what, a win's a win. And I don't know if the Badgers don't realize that. Even if they blow a team out, or even if they just barely beat Michigan, it's a win in the stat column, and that's kind of what it pretty much only means at the end of the day. And right now, it seems they just pile up a couple of these losses, and maybe they just are like, what is the point in this anymore? And luckily, we had a really good team, and we were able to figure stuff out and be able to produce on the football field. But we had an early season loss there. Even my season, we lost to a team down from Texas, and we were like, dang, if we lose one more game, then we're probably not making the playoffs at all. And we were able to win out the whole rest of the year and win conference and all that stuff, make a deep run. But I think that implanted in our brain. Our coach would not remind us of that, but he'd be like, this is a playoff game. Every single game that we're playing is a playoff game. Like, we cannot lose. And some of them games we barely beat. Like Stout is like the middle of our conference, and we beat them by 3 points or something. River Falls, we won out because we blocked a field goal to tie the game with time expired. And even Whitewater, we won by 3 points on a game-winning field goal. Like, some of these games we barely won, but we were able to just figure out a way to win. And I think that's something the Badgers need to do, is just figure out a way to win. Maybe Greg Gard isn't motivating them as much as he needs to be or something, because I think right now, I think they were settled. I think this is what it is. I think they were settled at where they were at. They're like, oh, we're the 6th-ranked team in the nation. If we lose a couple, we'll drop. But we've set ourselves up for good contention, even if we do lose a couple of these games, to still make the conference or still make the national tournament. And right now, they're losing one too many games that they thought they probably should. And now things are kind of spiraling downhill. And I don't think Greg Gard, maybe he has, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but maybe he hasn't had the talk that, hey, guys, if we lose a couple more of these, our chances of making this tournament is not looking nearly as good as it once did. I think they got a little bit too comfortable there. I think this happens a lot with the Badgers when and we said it. We're like, 11 is a good spot for them right here. The 11th ranked team in the nation, that's a good spot for this team. Then they somehow jumped up 5 spots because a couple of the teams in front of them got bumped down. Next thing you know, they're ranked 6. And we're like, okay, we're ranked 6, but I feel like as Badger fans, we kind of know, we've had this feeling before that when we're up there, things we get a little too hot for our britches, I think. And not saying that not saying that the Badgers think that they're the shit. Oh, my bad. But that they don't think that they need to win. And I don't know if that's the case, because obviously they're trying to win. Obviously they're not purposely losing, but maybe they're just getting a little bit too comfortable. Obviously we've seen that they're getting a little too careless with the basketball, which, if they didn't know, that's what you need to do to win a game, is keep the basketball and put it in the hoop. Seemed like they gotten, at least against Rutgers, they were very careless with the basketball there. And that's kind of something that we've been seeing. I mean, they only put up, 50 points against Rutgers, Chase? We were averaging at least 70-something points, and then that 90-something game, or that 90-point game against Western Kentucky definitely helped. But still, or Western, or Central, or some Arkansas team, I forgot what it was. But either way, something needs to happen here. Something needs to change, and they need to get their heads on right, because, like I said before, there's a concern of not even making the tournament if they start losing one too many of these games that they probably thought that they had come easy to them once. But now it's a little bit more difficult, because teams are definitely starting to learn how they're playing or how they want to play basketball. That's through the paint. It seems like it's definitely through the paint, and now they're doubling down on Crowell, they're doubling down on Wall, and when they're not able to make them 3-point shots, things start to hurt for them. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about, at least when you look at the coach-wise and as a team, maybe trying to motivate them and make them realize every game's counting here, because you're pretty much in playoff mode now.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it as, we talked about it a while back, and we said, hey, the Badgers are climbing. They have the target on their back now. They have to be the aggressors game in and game out. They like you said, they've been lackadaisical. They've been turning the basketball over. The mark of a good team is when you get into a dogfight. I'm not saying you're going to blow out Michigan every time you play them. Not a bad team. I mean, you're going to have dogfights against bad teams. I'm not saying you won't. Good teams go through dogfights like that. They're not going to put up 90 points and hold teams down. Purdue had a dogfight against Wisconsin. The difference was Purdue was able to put away Wisconsin. You look at a lot of Purdue's games. They don't win these games in blowout fashion all the time. Yeah, they blow out teams, but they don't blow them out all the time. It's what they do in those close games that impresses you, that says this is a good team in this Purdue team.
They're just a gritty team, Trage.
Gritty teams. That's what
they're able to figure out what they need to do to win. And
yep,
you look at they're ranked number 2 in the
100%.
nation. So,
yep. I mean, you look at a team like UConn. They are the number 1 team in the nation. They've been the number 1 team in the nation for weeks. They don't blow everybody out. That Big East is tight. They play a lot of tight games, but they find a way to pull it out in the end. That marks a good team. That's what the Badgers can't do. And that really concerns me. Like we said with the motivational part, it comes from you have to be wire to wire, be the most aggressive team on that basketball court. We saw it in Rutgers. Rutgers came out as the aggressor. They put the pressure on. You can't let bad teams get hope. That's the big thing. When you go to Michigan and you play a bad Michigan team, you have to bury them from the start. Rutgers, you have to take away all confidence to start that game. That is how you win big games of the Big Ten. That's just how it is. You want to beat a team like Purdue, you have to be the most aggressive team on that court. You have to out-rebound them. And from wire to wire, you have to be the dogs on that basketball court. And that's what the Badgers are missing. And I really think it comes down to your basketball coach can only do so much, but you got to self-motivate yourself. I'll give you that one. But at the end of the day, if they don't agree with the guy in charge, really hard to self-motivate yourself. And we saw this in the past. We talked about it the other day. That Brad Davidson, Micah Potter, Nate Reavers team, they went in and talked to Greg Gard, and they said that they didn't like the way he was coaching and everything like that. We're seeing that again with this team, starting to become a lackluster and everything like that. It's got to change there in Madison fast. So definitely, that was a great segment for Wisconsin Sports Therapy. I'm not even going to give mine for today. I'll give mine next Wednesday. Yours filled up the time slot like it was nothing. So we're going to get out of there. We're going to get to a couple of our sponsors here. First off, Game Day Supply in Alaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply to get your team the sweetest gear. Find them on Facebook at Game Day Supply or online at GameDaySupply.net. Also, Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. If you've been injured lately, if you know somebody who's been injured and they need some physical therapy, check out the awesome crew there at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. They will get you right and on your way. So with that, I got to get to Austin here. Austin, what do you got? Fact of the day here.
Yeah, I got an interesting one here, Trage. On this day in 1960, in the second Daytona 500, the second one ever, Junior Johnson survives a 37 car crash on turn 4 to win the race. That's quite the car crash, I'd say. 37 cars there, and was able to get out of there and win the race there in the second ever Daytona 500 there in 1960. Not much of a NASCAR guy, but I know 37 cars in a crash. Or possible pile up there. Not entirely sure, but I don't know. Like I was saying, I don't know much about NASCAR, but I know when I hear 37 car crashes, not good.
That's impressive. That is impressive right there. Holy cats. And to win the race, that's impressive right there. Son of a gun. So, interesting fact of the day right there from Austin. I got to give it to him on that one. We don't talk about NASCAR much, but that was a good one right there.
It's not the most there's NASCAR fans out there. I'll give them that. But personally, I don't watch a whole lot of it because it's a lot of left turns there, Trage. A lot of left turns, and I don't really get into it a whole lot. So
I'll give you that one. So next topic I saw a guy, and he came out and he gave his all NFC North team, his 2023 all NFC North team. And he went through his positions. I was seeing if I could pull it up here real quick. He went through his positions there, and he had guys like Jared Goff in there at quarterback. And I mean, this guy hated the Packers because I looked through his list. 0 Packers at all on his list for this one. He had Jared Goff, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs there as running back too, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Moore. So I want to go
Lions
through
fan
ours.
much, maybe?
Okay, I think so. Lions, he went for everybody except for the Packers because he went defense, he went with the Bears, and at head coach, he went with Dan Campbell. So I want to go through ours. So, quarterback position in the NFC North this season, who would you take there?
I love Jordan Love, but I feel like I got to take Jared Goff. I mean, he did take the Lions to the NFC Championship there and played at least a pretty good first half against the 49ers. So I'll take Jared Goff, honestly.
I agree with that one. I stick with that. I like Jared Goff this season. Stat-wise, he was better than Love. What didn't help Love was the start of the year. If you look at the end of the year, if he had played like that all season long, he was definitely the MVP there in the quarterback room, but definitely Jared Goff there. So running back number 1, who are you looking at? Who is your MVP there at the running back position?
I got to go David Montgomery. I feel like that one's probably true also. My question is running back number 2, and I feel like you got to put Aaron Jones at running back number 2. And even though he was out for a lot of the year, you look at what he was able to do for the time that he was in. And I think everyone knows how good of a running back Aaron Jones is. So even putting him at number 2 is a stretch, but I'd put David Montgomery was tough when he was in there. And then I'd go Aaron Jones, running back number 2.
I liked Montgomery. I also liked Gibbs. I thought Gibbs played a fine season there.
Gibbs played pretty good in the second half too, especially into the playoffs.
100%. And that would be the same comparable with Aaron Jones. He was injured there for a little bit. His big spark was in that second half of the year. So I'm definitely probably in that same boat. I'd take Montgomery, and then that's tough because
Gibbs
the
and
Bears,
Jones is a toss-up,
not really
honestly.
anything. The Vikings. Yep.
Vikings at Alexander Madison.
It's who you want to compare it to. And I thought that Jones played a better second half when he came back in because, I mean, he helped the Packers get back into the playoff hunt and back into contention there and got him into the playoffs. So, I like that there. Wide receiver is where the interesting one for me is. He had Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Moore, Justin Jefferson, and Jordan Addison for the Vikings. I don't know how that one kind of gets to me because I liked the Packers receivers. I liked what I saw out of Jaden Reed this last year. I really did. So, I mean, I would still take him. I'm going to take Amon-Ra St. Brown there with my number 1 wide receiver. I would definitely take Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then looking down my line here, you know, what the crazy part is Justin Jefferson didn't play in like 9 games for the Vikings, and he still had over 1,000 yards receiving. That was kind of crazy to me. But DJ Moore for the Bears would be my second. Just simply, he had 1,400 yards receiving. So I'm looking at him there in my second spot. And then looking down my line here, I'd have to take Jaden Reed. I thought his impact with the Packers was just instrumental. So I'm going to take Jaden Reed in my third. And then for my fourth, I got to give it to Jefferson just because he had the 1,000 yards receiving. I got to give it to Jefferson there in my 4th spot. So those would be my 4 wide receivers.
Yeah, I think kind of like what you had there, Amon-Ra and then DJ Moore. I think honestly, Justin Jefferson, if he played a whole year, and if Kirk Cousins played the whole year, Vikings would have been a pretty tough team. But they just obviously the injury bug hit them pretty hard, so that didn't help them. But with Justin Jefferson still hitting 1,000 yards with only playing 9 games or something, and especially with the quarterbacks that he had after Kirk Cousins got injured, is you got to put him up. You got to put him in there respectfully. So I'd put him at 3. The question is when it comes down to Jordan Addison or a Packers wide receiver. What doesn't help the Packers wide receivers is we don't have that 1,000-yard wide receiver because our offense was just so balanced. And But I would put either Jayden Reed in there or possibly Bo Melton because no, I'm kidding. Probably Jayden Reed would go in there. Bo Melton can be honorable mention though.
There we go. There we go. Tight end's the interesting one for me. I feel like there's only two right answers to this one. TJ Hawkinson or Sammy Laporta. Laporta went for 889 yards and Hawkinson went for 960. Now, I'd love to say a guy like Luke Musgrave and I'd love to say a guy like Tucker Kraft, but neither one of those guys. Tucker Kraft had 355 and Musgrave had 352. Both of them splitting time. Musgrave was out for a while, didn't help him there. But I would give the edge. I just thought Sammy Laporta was bigger to the Lions and what the Lions were able to do. And I know Hawkinson technically, look at yardage, had a bigger year, but I would take Sammy Laporta over TJ Hawkinson. I like what Sammy Laporta did. I took him every week in our fantasy just because of it, and I would take Sammy Laporta over TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Sam Laporta, especially down the back end of the season, kind of like Jahmyr Gibbs, really produced for this Lions team and helped them to get to the NFC Championship. Hawkinson, pretty sure he got hurt there, but still a really great player in respectfully. So, but I would put Laporta over Hawkinson just for this year, just because of how well he played, especially as a rookie too. Pretty sure he's a rookie, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And which is crazy is Hawkinson and Laporta are both from Iowa. And same with George Kittle. Like Iowa has produced some dogs in the tight end room. So that's crazy. But I would put Laporta in there. And then obviously Hawkinson, tight end 2, if you want to put a 2 there.
Yeah, 100%. And then offensive line, he took the Lions there on this list. I'm taking the Packers. I thought the Packers had the best offensive line in the NFC North this season. You look stat for stat, they gave Jordan Love all kinds of time to throw the football. I believe they had multiple guys who, if they gave up a sack on the season, it wasn't more than 5. It was really low numbers across the board. I don't even know if Elton Jenkins gave up a sack on the season. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure looking at his stats, he had like 700 snaps and didn't give up a sack. So I'm pretty sure Elton Jenkins was phenomenal. I'm looking at the Packers offensive line and saying they're my number one offensive line.
Yeah, I feel like if you were to choose one position group for the Packers in this, it would have to be their offensive line. I mean, you and I talked about this even before Rogan joined, and we were like, Packers offensive line looks a little struggle-ish there because we kind of rotating guys in and out. But once they found that core 5 there, they kind of ran away with it there and started to do really good things. I feel like that was one of the bright spots of our offense, minus Jordan Love being able to spread the ball and us being able – but we were able to run the ball so effectively towards down the end there. And nothing to take away from the Lions' offensive line, but I feel like our O-line was better than them. I don't know the stats exactly for how many sacks given up. Maybe you pulled it up or something, but I think you'd have to give it to the Packers there.
Yeah, 100%. I got the Packers there at offensive line. Defense. I'm going to give the Bears. I thought the Bears had the best defense in the NFC North. Their offense stunk. I'll give them that. Their offense stunk. But you look at their defense, they gave up. They had the number 2 ranked passing defense in all of football this last season there. I'm just trying to pull up their stats completely here. And then you look at their rush defense, and they actually ranked, they gave up 1,468 yards on the season there on the ground. If you looked at in comparison to a team that was rated as having one of the better defenses in football, the 49ers, they gave up 1,525 yards on the season. The Bears' defense was impressive. 3.8 yards per carry against the Bears there for opposing teams. They gave up 8 rushing touchdowns on the year. I mean, I could keep going through the stats right now, but they even had 388 rushing attempts against this Bears defense compared to the 49ers who had 369 and that many less yards there for the Bears there given up. That's impressive. I give it to the Bears there. Their front 4 was impressive, and I think the Bears have – I hate the Bears, but I think the Bears have a lot to build off of there on that defense right now.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, the Bears were one of the best defenses in the league, even though how bad sometimes the team looked overall. But Bears defense was definitely a bright spot for them, and definitely something to be looking forward to next year as they try to figure out who's going to be their quarterback and everything. But at least they have a really good defense there, and that's definitely one of the best defenses in the league, like you were saying with all the stats. So got to give it to the Bears defense. Definitely not the Packers defense. I'll tell you that much. We can't vouch for them on this one.
No, can't do that. And I just pulled up that stat you were talking about before, the sacks for the Packers. Only 30 sacks given up on the season. That is third best in all of football behind the Bills and the Chiefs. And you look at the Bills and you look at the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Two guys who get out of the pocket a lot, and they don't get sacked a lot because they move around in there. So that's impressive, right? They're only 30 sacks. Comparable to the Lions did only give up 31 sacks on the season there. But, 30 sacks on a season there, that's impressive out of the Green Bay Packers. Now, sack yards was 242, so Jordan Love was scrambling a lot deep into the backfield there when he did get sacked. But end of the day, that's impressive. That's impressive work out of the offensive line. So, getting to the head coach, this is a tough one. Dan Campbell did very well with the Lions. But I look at a guy in Matt LaFleur, and as much as I harped on Matt LaFleur throughout the year, getting a bunch of rookies, one of the youngest teams in the NFL history, and getting them to a playoff, getting them to beat the Dallas Cowboys at Jerry's World down there at AT&T Stadium, that's impressive. I don't care what you are, who you are, that's impressive. I give the edge to Matt LaFleur. I thought Dan Campbell, he did a lot with the team that he had. I'll give him that, but Jared Goff at quarterback, you had Amon-Ra St. Brown coming back, you had Montgomery in the backfield, you had Hutchinson in his second year, you had some experience there on that team. I'm not going to say a boatload, but you had some experience. Now you look at the Packers, rookie wide receivers, rookie tight ends, rookies in there at the offensive line. You didn't really have Aaron Jones all year long. You had a rookie in Jordan Love. Your defense was in shambles. And yet you somehow made the playoffs. That is impressive in its own right. I give the edge to Matt LaFleur and this Packer team.
Yeah, I can't complain about that pick. I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate, though, for Campbell. You look at this guy, and, the Detroit Lions have not made the playoffs since Barry Sanders has been there. And I know they had probably a lot better offense or a lot better, players around. But, the amount of pressure that this guy was on, for one. And you look at his team last year, or 2 years ago when he started as a coach, they won, pretty sure, one game, barely, on a last-second play against Minnesota. Last year, they just barely missed out on the playoffs. And then this year, take them all the way to the NFC Championship, where they pretty much could have made the Super Bowl. And then we would have had a matchup against Kansas City where – who knows what would have happened? Lions beat Kansas City in literally the first game of the year on a Thursday night football game. The Lions beat Kansas City, and we could have had to end the last game of the year. Could have been Lions versus Kansas City there, but never happened. But you just got to look at what Dan Campbell was able to do with this Lions team. Regardless of they had a little bit more experience and all that stuff, I think he had so much pressure on him. And not saying that Matt LaFleur didn't have any pressure on him, but this Packers team, no one was expecting this out of him, which I guess you could say why Matt LaFleur, you could give him that title. But Dan Campbell, a couple more years of him not maybe making the playoffs, they would kick him. They would boot him out of Detroit because they've done it before. So they definitely would not be scared to do it to him. But, you got to give credit where credit is due. And Dan Campbell was able to take this Lions team to an NFC Championship game and possibly almost a Super Bowl. And he's looking to return again. So that's definitely a really good Lions team there. And so I just had to play devil's advocate just a little bit there. But obviously Matt LaFleur being able to take a bunch of rookies pretty much and second-year players kicking the crap out of Dallas, which I think was every NFL fan's favorite moment there. I think everyone enjoyed that, man, unless you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. But, yeah. I think both of them are really good picks there, no matter who you choose.
100% got to agree with you there. It is a toss-up. It definitely is a toss-up, end of the day. Fantastic stuff there. I like the list. I like the list we made up there. A couple Packers making their way onto the list. This guy definitely hated the Packers. That's 100%. So with that, that's enough of that. I got to get into here. I just want to talk about Wisconsin softball is back. They just got done. I can't pronounce this. Kajikawa.
Was it a Hawaii tournament, possibly?
I'm guessing so. No, it was in Arizona. It was in Tempe.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah.
It was like there was like nothing going on except for softball on ESPN one day, and I'm like, oh, all right, turn it on, Tempe, Arizona. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, the Kajwiki.
Just don't even try. Don't even try, Jage.
The Kajikawa. We're going to call it the Kajikawa Classic there. They
definitely
just came off of there.
Right
they
now,
had a 4-1 record. We're definitely offending somebody out there right now. Coming off of a 4-1 series there. They got the win over Weber State University. Lost to Grand Canyon. Weber, whatever you want to call it. They lost to Grand Canyon University, beat Boise State, beat University of Maine, and then they did beat University of St. Thomas there in Arizona. Next up, they have a toughie. This is a tough tournament. They're going to Clearwater to play in the Clearwater Invitational down there in Florida. They'll be taking on number 4 Georgia to start that one out. Then they play number 18 Kentucky, followed by number 6 Oklahoma State, and then they will be taking on number 5 Washington. Wow, that is a tough tournament there. And sandwiched in between, they will face the University of Central Florida in that tournament. So that's going to be a tough one, but hopefully some good stuff coming out of there for the Wisconsin Badgers softball team. Starting out good though, 4-1 as of right now, so a good start for the Lady Badgers down there in, we aren't going to say that name anymore, but heading to Clearwater. Definitely a good start as they head to Clearwater there.
Smart man,
so Austin, anything else we got for the day? Anything else we have for the day? Any thoughts?
Not anything in particular. I was just going to say my story of the day will be real quick. The Super Bowl set TV ratings record with 123.7 million viewers. So I think that is crazy. It was up, I think, a 7% increase from last year, which was 115.1 million. But the craziest thing of it all is it still doesn't break the FIFA World Cup, which is like 2 billion views. So even though football or American football is great in the state of the United States, definitely still not the biggest stage in the world, which is FIFA soccer. But hey, maybe one day. We're trying to get some stuff overseas and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, definitely great to see. And if you are an NFL executive or anything like that, how can you complain about Taylor Swift anymore? That's what I got to know.
I saw she had 50-something seconds of TV time on CBS.
That's not even a lot. That's not
a lot, but that's almost $14 million there, Trage. To some companies, at least.
This is true. I mean, they were asking probably her, why doesn't she have to pay? Everybody else got to pay. Why doesn't she have to pay? So, yeah, definitely great story there. I mean, it's good to see. It's good to see the NFL getting good viewership there. I mean, it was a good game. And, I mean, they probably had a lot of people tune in just to watch the overtime because it was definitely a crazy game there. So, with that, that's about all we got for today. We have a big show coming up tomorrow here. We're going to have a special guest coming on the show, chatting with us there from the University of Wisconsin. But with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. But until then, deuces.